The galactic scientific vessel Harmony dropped out of hyperspace near the edge of a solar system that had been marked as uninhabitable for over 300 years. Dr. Valex Thorne, a Kethrani scientist with pale blue skin and 4 eyes, watched the readings on his console with growing confusion. The planet below, designated KX-447, was supposed to be a dead world. The atmosphere was filled with methane and sulfuric compounds. The terrain was covered in acidic lakes and volcanic activity. No intelligent species in the known galaxy could survive there without constant life support. Yet the sensors were detecting something impossible. There were heat signatures, organized structures, movement patterns that suggested civilization. Captain Yenna Solis, the expedition leader, ordered the ship to move closer. She was a Drellian, tall and elegant with silver scales that reflected the light of the nearby star. Her mission was simple: survey dead worlds for potential terraforming projects. This planet was supposed to be a quick scan and move on. But those readings changed everything. The bridge crew gathered around the main viewing screen as the planet came into focus. What they saw made them all go silent. There was a city down there. Not ruins. Not abandoned structures. A living, breathing city with lights and roads and what appeared to be farms spreading across the hostile landscape. Valex ran the scan 3 more times. Each time, the results were the same. The atmosphere was still toxic. The ground was still covered with compounds that would dissolve organic tissue within hours. The temperature swings were still extreme enough to kill most known life forms. Yet somehow, impossibly, there were living beings down there. And then the communication system crackled to life. A voice came through. It spoke in a language that the ship's translator took a moment to process. When the words finally became clear, everyone on the bridge felt their blood run cold. Unknown vessel, this is New Eden Colony. Please identify yourself and state your intentions. We welcome peaceful contact. The voice was speaking Terran, human language. But that was impossible. Humans were a minor species on the galactic stage. They had barely achieved faster than light travel 2 centuries ago. Their colonies were all located in safe, habitable zones carefully approved by the Galactic Council. No human should be anywhere near this toxic nightmare of a planet. Captain Solis composed herself and responded. She identified the ship and explained their scientific mission. There was a pause on the other end. Then the voice returned, warmer this time. It invited them to land at a designated location and promised safe passage for the crew. The landing party consisted of Captain Solis, Dr. Valex, a security officer named Krell from the warrior species of Orn, and a biologist named Eliza, who was actually human herself. Elisa had been serving on the vessel for 5 years and was considered an expert on alien ecosystems. She was just as confused as everyone else about what they were about to find. The shuttle descended through the thick, yellowish clouds. The instruments showed that the atmosphere outside would be lethal within minutes to anyone who breathed it directly. Acid levels were high enough to eat through standard protective gear within an hour. This was not a place where any sane species would choose to live. Yet as they broke through the cloud cover, they saw the colony spread out before them. It was massive. Hundreds of dome structures connected by enclosed walkways. Agricultural zones covered with transparent barriers. Mining operations that stretched toward the volcanic mountains in the distance. And people. Thousands of humans walking through the enclosed streets, going about their daily lives as if this poisonous world was just another home. The shuttle landed on a platform where a group of humans waited to greet them. The airlock opened, and the landing party stepped out wearing full environmental suits. They expected the welcoming committee to be in similar gear. They were not. The humans standing before them wore simple clothing. Light jackets, comfortable pants. Some were not even wearing shoes. They breathed the toxic air as if it was nothing more than a gentle breeze. One of them, a woman with gray hair and kind eyes, stepped forward and smiled. "Welcome to New Eden," she said. "I am Governor Maria Chun. We have been waiting a very long time for someone to find us." Dr. Valex could not process what he was seeing. His 4 eyes blinked rapidly as he scanned the humans with his portable device. Their vital signs were normal. Their lungs were functioning perfectly, but that was scientifically impossible. The atmosphere should have dissolved their tissue from the inside out. Governor Chun noticed his confusion and laughed gently. She explained that they had been expecting this reaction. She invited the landing party to follow her to the Central Administration Building where they could talk properly. The visitors would need to keep their suits on, she added, since they had not undergone the adaptation process. As they walked through the enclosed walkways, Eliza stared at her fellow humans in disbelief. Children ran past them, playing games and laughing. Workers carried equipment and building materials. Elderly people sat on benches and watched the volcanic landscape through the transparent walls. Everyone looked healthy. Everyone looked happy. Inside the administration building, Governor Chun led them to a conference room and began to tell the story of New Eden. 300 years ago, a colony ship called the Pioneer had left Earth during the first wave of human expansion into space. It carried 5,000 colonists in cryogenic sleep, heading for a planet in a distant system that had been marked as potentially habitable. But something went wrong during the journey. A navigation error sent the ship off course. When the colonists finally woke up, they found themselves in orbit around KX-447. Their ship was damaged. Their fuel was nearly gone. They had no way to reach any other world. They had a choice: die in space or take their chances on the toxic planet below. They chose to live. The first generation struggled terribly. They built sealed habitats with whatever materials they had. Many died from exposure, from equipment failures, from the constant battle against a hostile environment. But humans, Governor Chen explained, had a quality that other species often underestimated. They refused to give up. The survivors studied the planet. They analyzed the toxins in the air and the corrosive compounds in the soil. They experimented with genetic modifications. They pushed their medical technology to its limits. And slowly, generation by generation, they began to change themselves. It took 200 years. 200 years of careful genetic engineering and biological adaptation. 200 years of parents watching their children become slightly more resistant to the environment than they had been. 200 years of evolution guided by desperate human hands. Now, the people of New Eden could breathe the toxic atmosphere without harm. Their skin had developed the resistance to the acidic rain. Their bodies could regulate temperature in ways that would seem impossible to any other species. They had become something new. Still human in every way that mattered, but adapted to a world that should have killed them. Captain Solis listened to the story with growing amazement. The Galactic Council had strict rules against genetic modification of this scale. It was considered dangerous, unpredictable, potentially monstrous. Yet here was an entire civilization that had done exactly that and thrived. Krell, the security officer, spoke for the first time. His deep voice rumbled with respect. His species, the Vorn, were known as the toughest warriors in the galaxy. They prided themselves on surviving harsh conditions and brutal combat. But even they would not attempt to colonize a world like this. The humans had done what his own proud people would never dare. Dr. Valex requested permission to study the colonists. He wanted to understand the science behind their adaptation. Governor Chun agreed, but she also made a request of her own. She asked the visitors to tell the Galactic Council about New Eden. For 300 years, they had been alone. They had built their world without any help from the outside. Now they were ready to rejoin humanity and take their place among the stars. The following days were filled with discovery. Dr. Valex documented everything he could. The colonists showed him their medical facilities, their genetic labs, their agricultural systems that could grow food in soil that would kill any normal plant. Every piece of technology had been invented from scratch, designed specifically for this hostile world. They had reinvented medicine, engineering, and biology just to survive. Elisa spent her time talking to the ordinary people. She heard stories of struggle and loss, but also of hope and determination. One old man told her about his great-grandmother, who had been on the original Pioneer. She had been a schoolteacher on Earth. When they landed on this planet, she became one of the first to suggest adaptation instead of surrender. She died before seeing the results of her vision, but her descendants now walked freely in an atmosphere that would kill any normal human. A young boy showed Eliza his favorite spot near the edge of the dome. From there, they could see one of the massive volcanoes that dotted the landscape. He told her that he wanted to be an explorer when he grew up. He wanted to climb that volcano and see what was on the other side. His ancestors had been trapped here against their will, but he saw this world as his home. He loved its strange beauty. He loved its challenges. When the time came for the Harmony to leave, Governor Chun gave Captain Solis a gift. It was a small container of soil from New Eden. Ordinary soil, treated and modified to be safe for normal humans. It contained seeds from their adapted crops. She hoped it might help other colonies struggling with harsh environments. Captain Solis accepted the gift with deep respect. She promised that the Galactic Council would hear about New Eden. She promised that these people would not be forgotten again. As the ship rose through the toxic clouds, leaving the planet behind, Dr. Valex wrote his preliminary report. He wrote about the scientific impossibility of what he had witnessed. He wrote about the medical breakthroughs that could benefit thousands of worlds. But mostly, he wrote about the spirit of the colonists. They had faced death and chosen to fight. They had looked at an impossible situation and found a way through. They had changed themselves rather than give up. The Galactic Council had always considered humans to be a Mire species. Young, inexperienced, not particularly strong or intelligent or adaptable compared to the ancient civilizations of the galaxy. But Valex now understood something important. Humans did not become strong by being born that way. They became strong by refusing to die. New Eden was proof of what humanity could do when pushed to the limit. And somewhere in the galaxy, in a system marked as uninhabitable, thousands of human beings were looking up at the stars and dreaming of the day when they would finally meet their long-lost family among the stars. The expedition returned home with a story that would change how the galaxy saw humanity forever. A small species had done what no one thought possible. They had conquered death itself. And they had done it simply because giving up was never an option.